This is Toledo's Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell. Joining me in the studio today are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO, Zach Vassar. We also have the TSO's music director, Alain Trudel, and by phone, who is actually on the road right now. Let me play a little musical fanfare to welcome our special guest. Yeah, we pulled out all the stops for that fanfare. Please welcome violinist Benjamin Beilman. Ben, glad to have you on the show today.
It's good to be here, yeah.
Yeah, so you're like in a car driving down in Florida somewhere right now, yeah?
I am. I'm in between concerts. I had a concert last night in Palm Beach, Florida, and then I'm driving across the state to Sarasota for a completely different program for another concert site.
Nice. And you are coming to the Peristyle. It's going to be Friday and Saturday. This is March 4th and 5th, 8 o'clock p.m. at with the Toledo Symphony. Wonderful program here, but you're playing the violin concerto by Samuel Coleridge Taylor, one of those wonderful works by a composer that I think people are just starting to really, discover and rediscover his music. And this is a wonderful opportunity for audiences to hear a world-class violinist playing this wonderful music. You can find information at ToledoSymphony.com or call the box office number. That is 419-246-8000. Ben, say hello to our panel here in the studio. I've got Alain Trudel as well as Zach Vassar.
Hey, Ben.
Hey.
So what we normally do in a situation like this when we have a guest is we ask you to tell us your story, and in this case, it would be interesting to know how you became interested in the violin, and when did you decide to become, a solo violinist? Tell us that story and your path to becoming what you are today. Now, I have a little music for you in the background. Let's see. Now, there's either that. Hang on.
Wait.
Elaine was dancing. I don't know.
I'm not even sure those are real violins.
Here's another one.
That one wins. It's got to win.
So what do you say, Ben? A or B?
I guess B.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Zach
Good job. You got one right.
Zach made your choice for you.
You're on the board.
Yeah. Okay. Now we wasted a few minutes there. It's time for Benjamin Beilman.
Did you just give him a celebrity name with his own first and last names?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Benj
right.
Beil. Okay.
We should let Ben get a word in edgewise here. We're just talking about him.
By the end of the program today, we'll come up with a nickname for you, Ben. What are we doing? Oh, you're telling us your story. Yeah, take us back to when you first held a violin in your little hands.
The first violin I picked up was actually not a real violin. It was a macaroni box with a ruler taped to it. But I got into violin. I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me, and she started Suzuki violin lessons through her kindergarten. I think when she was about 5. And, as a 3-year-old, my mom would just bring me to all of her lessons and swap me off in the corner and let me do my own thing. And by the time I turned 5, I decided, this sounds pretty cool. I most definitely want to play the violin. And so I asked for my own instrument. As we were growing up, my sister and I we had a healthy amount of competition between us, let's put it that way. And so we kind of worked with each other to work harder and play more. And by the time I was about 10, I decided that, this is something I really love. I was good at it. I could see that I was progressing quickly, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go completely 100% into violin and try and be a soloist. So essentially, I don't remember a time when I wasn't playing the violin. It's always been a part of my life, and very happily my profession and kind of my life calling.
Get a cheer for that. I really think that for an encore at the Peristyle, you should pull out a macaroni box and see what happens.
I remember using the macaroni box with a ruler, but I called it a guitar. So maybe that's why I didn't have a great career in violin playing.
Oh, well. or guitar playing for that matter. Ben, let's hear about your connection to Toledo. I know when you were a high school student, you did something here. Well, you lived in Ann Arbor for a while, so that's not too far away.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I moved around quite a bit when I was growing up, but kind of in my most formative years, I was living in Ann Arbor, kind of my middle school and high school years. And, as I was starting to come up as a violinist, I was competing in a lot of local and regional and some national competitions. And the Toledo Symphony had a concerto competition, which I competed in and won, and that was one of my first opportunities playing as a soloist with the orchestra. So I can't remember the exact year, but it was kind of in the early 2000s. As a high school student, I got a chance to play as a soloist.
And I think you did the Twinkle Little Star from the Suzuki book. Is that right?
That was a few years earlier, yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Do you remember what you played, Ben?
I think it was the Gurneweisen, a kind of gypsy piece written by Sarah Sase. I think. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it was also with Thomas Wilkins.
Well, I want to do this little bit of a quiz that I have before we talk about the concerto by Samuel Coleridge Taylor. So what I've done is, let me turn off that music, and I'll bring in some other music here for a quiz. All right. You all know what that is, right?
Real strings this time.
Yeah. Little pizzicato. Okay. So this is a Twitter smackdown, right? You guys know who Two Set Violin is?
Sure.
Do you know them,
yeah,
Ben?
Yeah.
Have you heard of them, Ben? Oh.
I think it's something you said.
I think it must have been something I said.
Well, he has an opinion.
Let's see if he calls back. That's fine, because I was going to ask him not to say anything, right? So we can go ahead and do this quiz. So the way that it works is I've got the Twitter feed of Benjamin Beilman and the Twitter feed of Two Set Violin, right? Who are a sort of a comedy duo, the violinists. Oh, hang on. Here's Ben again. Are you there?
I am. Sorry about that, Brad.
Oh, that's okay. As I was just talking to you for 10 minutes and then figured out you weren't here. No, I'm kidding.
He said many profound things.
Yes,
always
profound things. I was talking about Two Set Violin. And we're about to start this quiz. It's the Twitter smackdown, as I said. So what you have to do is I'll read the tweet or an excerpt from the tweet, and you have to tell me if it's Ben or Two Set, okay? All right. That sounds like a great quiz.
So let me just get this straight. You're asking Benjamin Beilman to say whether he wrote it or somebody else wrote it.
No, I want Ben just to say if it was correct or not.
Okay, so Alain and I are guessing, yes?
Yeah.
All right,
here we go. The first one. Tonight. Who would that be?
Oh, I think it would be both, maybe.
At some point, I'm sure both Twitter accounts use that word.
Yeah.
That'd be both.
No, that was Ben, right? Ben, you said tonight.
Very efficient, yeah.
Yes.
So that's how it's going to be, yeah?
Yeah,
Short
right?
tweets. Efficient tweets instead of mean tweets, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're late to rehearsal for the second time in a month. Who was that? Was that Two Set or was that Ben?
Well, that has to be Two Set because Ben is a soloist. He's never late. He comes when he arrives, right?
Oh, that's
That's
true.
a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with the maestro on that one.
Never mind that question then. It was actually in response to a tweet from ESPN where they said name something that isn't an Olympic sport but feels like an Olympic sport. Right, when you're late to rehearsal for the second time in a month. Whatever that means. Okay, here's the next one. Can't wait to do it again tomorrow. Who would that be?
That sounds like Ben Beilman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Ben. Okay. So that goes to Zach. I realized I was not keeping track here.
I'm sure I'm winning.
Yeah, you are winning, actually, by 1. Okay, next one. Don't take everything for granted. Is that Ben or Two Set?
Oh, Ben.
You know
what do
what,
you say, Zach?
I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Two Set Violin said that.
Yeah, very good. Boy, Zach may win this quiz. All right. Making beautiful music. exclamation point, right? If I was Victor Borge, I'd be like...
That can't be two set.
Yeah. Okay. So who is it?
I've heard them.
Making beautiful music. Who is that?
Benjamin Beilman.
Yeah. See, Zach got it. You didn't say it, Elaine.
I said it. I said it can't be them.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll give it to you, Elaine.
We can have both, right?
Ben, are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm hearing you read my tweets, and I'm thinking maybe I need to up my social media game.
Okay, here's a good one. There was a lot going on with Mozart in 1787. This is actually a retweet from one of these artists. Ben or Two Set?
Two set. Oh my God.
It's not Two Set. It was Ben.
I keep being wrong.
In a retweet.
Just make sure you're temping her, okay?
I didn't write down who you were retweeting, so you'll have to figure that out for yourself.
We don't have a concert today.
Okay. All right. Here's the next one. It's him.
Is that H-I-M or H-Y-M-N?
H-I-M. It's him.
I'm going to go Two Set on that one.
Yeah, it's Two Set. Definitely. Well, Zach in the lead by 2.
Set.
Okay.
Oh.
You're not right.
Point.
You're not right. That's a tweet from whom?
That's Two set. I got one, yes.
I just had to look away. I couldn't even look at you if that buzzer sounded again.
That was in response to a tweet. That was in response to a tweet that said classical music more like sickle music. Am I right? Gonna have to bleep that out later.
Yeah, you might need to. I'm not even sure that's a word though.
Yeah. Well, whatever. The answer was you're not right, right? Because they said, am I right? Okay, thanks, Josh. Who's that from?
Wow.
Merwin?
That's going to be Ben Beilman.
Yeah, that was Ben.
Yeah.
You remember that, Ben? You were thanking Josh, and then for some reason his tweet disappeared, so I don't know what the deal is.
Completely, yeah. How can I forget that one?
Okay. I know you spend your day thanking your fans, so I figured, we had to rep for that one. All right. Why not wake up to some sultry French music?
Two set. No. Oh, damn. Oh la la.
Yeah.
I want to know the piece.
I don't know what it was. Do you remember what it was, Ben?
Honestly, since I can't see what I'm retweeting, I have no clue.
Okay.
Alain, do you only wake up to French music? I mean, that might just be like waking up to music for you, right?
I don't know what to say.
Not French-Canadian music.
Je ne sais quoi.
Since I wake up to je ne sais quoi.
Okay.
Seems like I'm only waking up now on this quiz.
To translate je ne sais quoi, it's for folks at
Well,
home.
for this quiz, it's a je ne sais rien.
I don't know anything.
I know nothing.
Yeah. I've only got 2 of these to go, okay? Posting a really fun video today. Who was that?
Okay, that's Two Set.
Yeah.
You can do no wrong. Good for
The
you.
final one is the ultimate trick to not butcher a Bach piece is to not play.
Two set.
How'd you know that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 for Elaine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Zach.
See, it was much closer than you
Wow,
thought.
Zach is the winner.
But you know
of
what?
our
I want to
quiz.
say that Benjamin Beilman and Two Set Violin, they're the winners on that. They're the ones who are going to social media and trying to, make sure that we get glimpses into their life and creativity. So bravo to them.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to do applause for that one, but that's okay. Maybe for Ben, we'll do that.
So, sorry, go ahead. Your show.
That's all right. I yield the floor. to Zach.
Well, I just wanted to go back to the concerto competition that you won in your high school days. It's a great part of our organization. We've always spent a lot of time focusing on young talent. It's a focus of our Symphony League, and pulling this wonderful young artist competition across the line every year has been a remarkable part of what we do. So really excited to see you make the victory lap, Mr. Beilman, because you get to come back now as a concerto soloist, which I think is really fantastic on the Masterworks program.
Yeah, totally. Now, you are playing this violin concerto by Samuel Coleridge Taylor. It's one of his better-known works, but I wonder if you want to talk about it. And is this a piece you've played in the past, Ben?
Yes, I played it actually for the first time only recently, back in the fall with the Indianapolis Symphony. It's a piece that, I mean, obviously it was written basically 100 years ago, but it's, for whatever reason, it didn't really enter the repertoire, but it has everything that a great violin concerto should have. I mean, it has soaring melodies, tons of virtuosity, a lot of great kind of interplay between the solo part and the orchestra. The second movement is like unfathomably beautiful. It's got a huge heroic ending. I mean, it has truly everything. And kind of my only idea why it couldn't be part of the repertoire is I think Samuel Coleridge Taylor, he died fairly prematurely. I think he was in his late 30s. Yeah. And a lot of people suggest that he was kind of just overworking himself. So maybe he didn't have enough time to build up a body of repertoire. But it's a fantastic piece, and I'm so happy that the symphony programmed it.
Yeah, and it's an interesting program, pairing that with the Symphony No. 5 of Tchaikovsky and this new piece. All of it is conducted by Giordano Bellincampi. Now, Giordano has been in Toledo many times, but have you guys worked together before?
We have. We worked together in Tasmania, actually, in Hobart, in Australia. And this was before COVID, I want to say, I think 2 years ago. I really, really love his conducting. I remember we did a great Tchaikovsky concerto, and he's like an incredible figure on the podium. He has an ability to really just draw every single player of the orchestra to him and to the solo part. And it's his sense of hierarchy and values within music are completely what I also aspire to. So he's one of my favorite collaborators.
We adore Giordano as well. And, Ben, it's interesting because after that performance that he did with you, he came to us with a suggestion that we might bring you to Toledo, one of his future concerts. And I think it's interesting that it took an Italian conductor in Tasmania to bring a local boy back home to the Toledo Symphony.
It's a small world, as they say.
It's great.
Yeah. Ben, tell us about the violin you're going to bring to the Peristyle. You were telling me that you're playing on a Guarnieri. Sometimes you have a Strad. I mean, what's going on with all of that?
He just leaves them everywhere, right? Yeah. It's whatever he can find.
Leave them in the back of a taxi cab.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, they're used, of course. It's a long story, and I won't bore you with it. But often I have an instrument on loan from.
Well, hang on. Let me. Here we go. We'll give you a little music.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, tell the story.
So the last 3.5 years, I've played on a Stradivarius on loan to me from the Nippon Foundation, which is an instrument collection. It's a long story, but because of COVID, they decided to recall all of their instruments that they had loaned out, and so I'm playing on a different instrument on loan. And this is a violin that the great Viennese violinist Fritz Kreisler once played on. So it's a Peter of Mantua Guarnieri violin. I think it was made in 1702 in Cremona.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, do you notice like a difference between these amazing quality violins when you play them? How would you characterize them?
Completely different. I mean, the qualities. I can feel Fritz Kreisler's tone played into this particular instrument. There's a kind of connection between each of the notes that is very, very different from the Strad that I often play on. The Stradivarius has a kind of angelic, soaring quality, and this Guarnieri most definitely has kind of like the gutsy, guttural, dark, creamy, rich chocolate sound, especially on the lower end.
Oh, nice. You're making me hungry now.
I bet you only can play Chrysler cadenzas on that violin, right?
You know what's amazing? I actually, just before Florida, I was in Vienna, so I got to play his violin in his city, and I did play a Chrysler piece as an encore for the concerto.
Outstanding.
Wow,
That's great.
Yeah, fantastic story. Love that. We've been talking with the violinist Benjamin Beilman, who is coming to the Toledo Museum of Art Peristyle on Friday and Saturday evening, March 4th and 5th, 8 o'clock p.m. You can find more information at toledosymphony.com or 419-246-8000. The conductor of this program is Giordano Bellincampi, and there's also the Symphony No. 5 of Tchaikovsky and Murmuring Light, a new piece by the New Zealand composer Selina Fisher. And Ben is going to be playing the violin concerto by Samuel Coleridge-Taylor on his wonderful Guarnieri, which he made sound so delicious just now.
Don't eat it, Brad.
We were talking about it. I won't indeed. Ben, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're on the road, so the fact that you were talking to us on your cell phone while traveling through Florida right now is a wonderful thing. So thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Please bring.
Looking forward to seeing you guys in person.
Thank you. Please bring some of that Florida weather north.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Will do.
Safe travels.
Take care.
Thanks. Take care.
So we're going to hang on for a little bit and talk about the other repertoire on this concert, because there are two pieces that just could not be more different. I mean, Murmuring Light, I've listened to the music. I saw a performance of it on YouTube that Giordano conducted, and it's very light. It's very, it kind of ebbs and flows. It basically is what the title says, Murmuring Light, right? There's a lot of murmuring at the beginning. There's like a bowed marimba kind of effect going on.
A bowed marimba?
Yeah, a bowed marimba that it starts with. And I don't know, do you know the piece at all, Elaine?
Well, a little bit, because Giordano is one of the few conductors that, when you're a music director, you usually program most of what's on everybody's program. Once in a while, you get a conductor that we all know and love, and we know very well, we trust completely, and we try to give them as much freedom as possible. Now, we really wanted to have Ben, and the fact that he proposed them was like, oh, this is great, this is a good match. And the Tchaikovsky Symphony is something we want to put on our program. He was amenable to that. So we talked about the concerto. He proposed the concerto, and he's bringing with him this piece also. So it was. It's rare that we give that much freedom, but he's such a great artist, such a great conductor, and our orchestra really likes him a lot. Yeah. So it's good, because then he comes in and he feels that he has something he wants to share with us, something very special to him, and it's in the region where he works a lot also. So that's something very very unique. That the relationship that we have with Giordano is very unique. So we're very happy to have him to present this piece, and of course to conduct Ben and to conduct Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Well, let's talk about the Fifth Symphony of Tchaikovsky. You have an affinity, Elaine, for Tchaikovsky.
It's our theme music.
Yeah, we start with theme music.
I
have a weird Tchaikovsky quiz, by the way. I had to dig deep to find a subject that I hadn't.
Do we have to pick
before.
Between his tweets and?
No tweeting from Tchaikovsky. No. But let's talk about the Symphony No. 5, which is his penultimate symphony, right? I've got a fun fact here, Tchaik 5. I'm sure you know this, that if you're a John Denver fan, you could also be a Tchaikovsky 5 fan, right? Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. That's John Denver.
And Sinatra.
And Sinatra.
At one time, Brad Cresswell, you can sound both just like John Denver and Frank Sinatra. It's very
That's my impression. I sound just like him. You couldn't tell? Oh, well.
I thought you put my daughter.
After we spoke with Sinatra's granddaughter, A.J. Lambert, last week, I decided I couldn't do that impression for her. So
can't imagine why.
Yeah. Well, it was just, the time of day, I guess. Anyway, I know, Zach, you have some stories about Tchaik 5, but maybe you want to set the stage for us, Elaine, and talk a little bit about this symphony.
Absolutely. So So it's part of the three symphonies of of destiny, of fate. They call it fatum, of fate, not destiny but fate, and it's always in a very dramatic way. Those three symphonies. It's funny how we connect those three symphonies, but they're not that connected.
Yeah.
The fourth was 10 years before. And then he wrote a little thing called Manfred Symphony. It's actually his longest symphony he ever wrote. But what's interesting is that he moves away from the symphonic structure in Manfred. It's kind of a half symphony, half symphonic poem. And so the fifth is written right after that, like a year and a half after that, and which is 10 years after the fourth. So he's really in a mood that's more exploring and dramatic and cyclic. That's the That's the most important thing, is that he uses the material as at the beginning. And at the end, it has the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's not that he recycles, but he takes the music, and it's that's something that he did, that Schumann did just before him, and that was very, very important in the music in the 20th century of Mahler, for example. So there's something, different places in the world that started doing this cyclic symphony, which brings you, it's like it's a connection almost between a symphony and a tone poem, because there's a little, you come back with something very important. It's like a leitmotif, right? The theme, the principal theme of fate comes in, same as da 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 da, and the fourth that comes in again, is cyclic a little bit, but just a little bit. But a symphony and the fifth, even in the second movement, it comes back, right? When we have the really loud part in the middle, and you have the beautiful French horn, John Denver solo.
Annie's song.
Yeah, exactly. Can't believe Tchaikovsky ripped that off. But
he was clairvoyant. He could see into the future and steal melodies.
But when you get to the high point of that, the climax of that, then whoops, we come back with that theme, and the theme is always seen through different lenses. You have the beginning very very dramatic, very triumphant in the last movement. So I think that this is an important symphony in the sense of everything that it brings in the cyclic mode, and it really influenced other composer after,
Yeah, well, it also has those great themes, and I just want to say we can sing to our heart's content because it's all in public domain. So feel free, Elaine, sing your heart out when it comes to Tchaik 5. We've got plenty of melody. You already sang some of them. That. The opening, da 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 da.
Yeah. Well, for our listeners, right? You have this opening theme, which will come later, because it only comes, at the beginning is just sol la sol fa sol mi. It feels like it's a little chorus. It's very.
It's so insular too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you da yum da 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 ti da fa mi si sol sol fa mi mi. There's two classical composers that we can say, quote unquote, the guy could write a tune, right?
Yeah.
Tchaikovsky, Dvorak, Those guys, you can go in their wastebasket, look, and you take what they throw away, and you say, oh, this is amazing. I could have a hit with this, Like Brahms said that at Dvorak. Tchaikovsky the same. He could really write a tune, sometimes to the detriment of him wanting to develop more. He's not like the master of development, but who cares? I mean, that's not his MO. I mean, basically what he does is write a tune, and then another tune, and then another tune, and then they're stuck in your head all day.
So, but he and Dvorak were similar in that they liked using so much folk music. So
you're talking about Brahms and Dvorak?
Sorry, Tchaikovsky and Dvorak.
Tchaikovsky and Dvorak.
And I think that was one of his potential limitations, is that he was trying to use all of this Russian folk music, which doesn't develop very easily. But you definitely see that at play in the Fifth Symphony. I want to go back to, because you were talking about the cyclic symphonies of 4, 5, and 6. So how does 6 fit into this trio?
Well, I think that 6 is kind of its own thing. I mean, like you have 5, you have 4. Even if 5 is 10 years later, it's connected more with Manfred for me. And then 6 is only 4 years after. Yeah. But 6 is kind of, he knows it's going to be a kind of a testament a little bit. You can feel it already. 6 breaks a lot of barriers, right? Because it finishes with this slow movement. So if somebody has the guts to really finish with a slow, and it's, how do you say, gut wrenching slow movement. I think the sixth has some development also. It's surprising, right? But it happens also. It's like in Mahler 9, some people said he can't write a fugue, so he wrote a triple fugue in the third movement. So Tchaikovsky people were criticizing him and say, oh, he can't develop. So he did a lot of that. Yeah. But 5 is like, I would say, the last one of the very tuneful symphonies. It's, of course, his most popular. Because of the re, do, si, re, do, la, si, do, mi. You can just imagine Megan playing this.
I can't wait to hear
it's amazing, right?
It's like Rachmaninoff almost.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree, right? So, and you have that. And always, like, the movements are very defined, Ni, da, 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 da. I'm half tone too high, but it's okay.
Yeah. It's an interesting little waltz. I don't really know what to do with that third movement.
Sometimes we play it, it's one of those movements that is kind of I think there's so much intensity in the second movement. I mean, emotionally, when you do the first movement is quite intense also. And then you go in the second that looks like going to be a repulse, a beautiful aria with the horn, because we can call it an aria, and then it develops, and then it tense again, and then again, and then you need something just to relax for a little while.
So it's a palate cleanser.
Well, it's a palate cleanser, and it has a lot of, it's like you remember times that were easier a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we go back like, we're starting the first movement again with the last movement. No, it's a harmonized another way. It's in major, right? It seems optimistic. And then it's like everything breaks loose after that. And then you have Tchaikovsky did not like the end of his symphony.
Interesting.
He really thought it was a big failure for him, that the end of his fifth, because, he sits there at the premiere. It's very bombastic, and it's but it drills the point home a little bit. But I think personally I see a little bit more connection with Shostakovich Fifth, the end. It's a little bit sarcastic, a little bit, not as sarcastic in Tchaikovsky, but that much triumph always hides something, right? If you're acting bombastic, or if you're acting super triumphant, it's because there's something a little sad inside. So you don't want to finish like that, which he does in the sixth. He acknowledges his inner self in the sixth.
He has the bombastic third movement and finishes with the slow movement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think it takes a while to accept yourself.
So I remember when I was in school, I was doing a score study, and I analyzed the Fifth Symphony, and something that shocked me was the number of tempo changes in that second movement. I mean, it's almost every couple measures, there's a different tempo. How do you do that as a conductor? I mean, do you just kind of like say, like, we're going to take the middle of the road and just conduct it straight through, or are you constantly changing it?
No, I think though it's a good point, actually. It's I think the idea behind that is to make it rubato a little bit. So he's, instead of telling you with words what he wants, he's because that was not so popular at the time. Like if you take Debussy or Mahler or Ravel, they will write a phrase or two phrases or three phrases. Do this like that. Don't take too much time here yet. Give time to the music to breathe, and don't do the triplet too slow. They will write those. But in a more romantic, in the classical way, I mean, a romantic period where you put like, dotted quarter equals 72 or something like that. So it gives you a sense of what is the andante. Andante in music is a very is a big basket. Like in Mozart, everything is andante, but you can have an andante in two that moves a little bit. Like you can have an andante that's very poised. You can have all the secrets are in the little details. If an andante has a cut time, or if an andante is in two, or if it's a 6/8, or if it's a 4/4. But it gives you a sense of what is the style more than the tempo. So in that second movement, for example, it shows, okay, we want the beginning a certain time. We want the horn to take a little bit more time here, and then we pick it up a little bit when the clarinet comes in and the oboe comes in, and then it goes. We come back to the tempo of the first movement, because it's analog to the first movement, right? So when you study it, you can see the relationship between the movements, rather the relationship in the same movement.
Got it.
That's another cyclic thing, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always felt like once I saw that in the score, because I never really heard it in a performance. When I saw it in the score, it then created this almost sort of like limping feel to what is otherwise a very languid movement. In that it feels like it might rush a little bit and then pull back and rush and pull back, and like the irregular heartbeat almost.
I think the secret is really to relate to the other movements. And
Yeah.
but it's an error that, for example, young conductors do a lot, is they relate to tempis in one movement in a cyclic piece, and they go, oh, this goes with this. And if you can relate with the outer movements,
Sure.
then you find what the composer really meant, because he
Yeah.
probably wrote those tempis after. You know, he said it goes a little bit like this. How
Right.
can I give the guy or the girl who's going to conduct this 50 years from now
Right.
a clue to what I'm looking for and to what to relate? And the last moment, I like ta da da da
Yeah.
da 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 pa 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 pa.
Right.
You know, so
Well,
it gives you an idea.
in that first movement, though, I'm always surprised by the amount of variation within different recordings. Sometimes I think I don't know, the tempo markings 120, 130, something like that. It can be so slow. You listen to like the Chelibidake recording. It's
That's,
gorgeous. But
There's a
it's-
word for that. It's called ego. Like if you listen to Chelibidake,
Yeah.
sorry, God bless his soul,
Oh,
he's a
he's a
wonderful
great
musician.
conductor. Yeah,
But he conducted Chelibidake on every piece.
yeah,
You know, and if you were trying to conduct Tchaikovsky and Beethoven,
yeah.
then you're probably closer to them. That's what I like also about
Yeah.
our guest. I mean,
Yeah.
he respects that, and
He
that's. I try to get people here that put the ego aside. I think
Yeah.
our public appreciates also that.
Yeah.
You know, we're at the service of the music, but sometimes some people that have such big egos. I don't know, conductors.
How do you say ego in French?
Ego, same.
I thought so.
I thought that was a waffle. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's ego.
Oh, got it.
Let go
Yeah.
my ego.
Ego, my pride.
Listen, I don't want to, interrupt your ongoing discussion of Tchaikovsky and Symphony Number 5, but I want to do part of this quiz because I did a lot of work on this quiz, and we're going to get to it.
Let's do it.
This is a gaming Tchaikovsky quiz, so it's just true or false. These video games, do they use the music of Tchaikovsky? And I have specific examples. Okay. So, do either of you play video games? You know your video game landscape?
Absolutely not.
I think the last video game I played was Tetris in 1989.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there is a Tetris question on here. But
I have one on my TV. If I press like 2, I get a
Yeah.
channel. If I press 3, I get sports. If I press 4, I get something.
Video games?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I
Yeah.
thought that was a video game. Okay.
Okay, let me pull up
Tetris
some
shows
music.
up on your computer.
Okay, here we go. In the video game Little Big Planet 3, a remix of June Barcarolle appears in the game. Is that true or false? Now, let me read all of these 6 clues, and then we'll come back. Okay, so the first one, true or false. The second one is, in the video game The Last of Us Left Behind, Tchaikovsky's March Slav is featured in the downloadable content area. Okay, that's true or false. This is just a 50-50, All right.
I like how you say that as if it's going to help us.
Okay, in The Evil Within, Part 2, Tchaikovsky's orchestral piece Serenade for Strings is associated with serial killer Stefano Valentini.
I thought that was a movie. That's a video game?
Yeah, evidently.
Yeah.
I don't even know the movie, but okay. This is more my style. Wii Sports. In Wii Sports, the golf background music is Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. True or false? In Paper Mario, the Origami King, the game features a comedic ballet production of Swan Lake, as well as a punk remix. True or false? And the final clue, The Sims. Every time a sim falls in love, Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet is heard. You know that?
I've never heard that.
I can sing that one too because it's in public domain. Yeah. Okay. So we got all those 6?
Oh, yeah.
The first one, Little Big Planet 3, remix of June Barcarolle. True or false?
Total true.
No, that's false. It's actually
I had false.
it's actually Waltz of the Flowers instead of June Barcarolle. I know people get those two mixed up, but that's what quizzes are for. Now, in The Last of Us Left Behind, March Slav is featured in the downloadable content area. Is that true or false?
Why not?
That's totally true.
Yeah.
It's false.
Oh.
Okay. It's actually the string quartet number 3 that gets played.
Ooh.
Okay.
I love the string quartet.
Yeah. Okay. The Evil Within 2, this is the one that Zach says is a movie also. Tchaikovsky's orchestral piece Serenade for Strings is associated with serial killer Stefano Valenti.
It doesn't sound like serial killer music to me, but maybe you're never supposed to be able to tell a serial killer. So I'd say true. Totally true. Hey,
True.
I got one right.
Oh, you got one, I got one. No, good. I didn't get that
Which one did you get?
I got
you
the first
You got the
one.
first one. Yeah.
Oh, you got the first one? Okay.
You're the score master. I got the next 3.
Well, we haven't even done the next 3. All right. Wii Sports, the golf background music is Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. True or false?
Of course, yes.
No.
I tried my luck.
That's false because there is no music by Tchaikovsky in there.
Wow, you had a lot of fun with this, huh?
I did indeed, yeah. I spent 10 minutes working on this thing with all the sweat, blood, and tears. All right. Did I do this? No. Paper Mario, the Origami King. This game features a comedic ballet production of Swan Lake as well as a punk remix. True or false?
That's true. That's totally true.
Yeah, you got it. You figured I'd done too many false ones, so that had to be true, right? Okay. And for the final clue, The
Tiebreaker.
Sims. The Sims. Every time a Sim falls in love,
This is
Tchaikovsky's
True.
Romeo and
totally
Juliet
true.
is heard.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
there's
we're
no
both wrong.
Tchaikovsky in The Sims.
Oh.
No. No.
Yeah.
So-
You just changed that T to an F. I see what you do. Put a little thing right in there.
I did
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah. Some
No,
of these
I
had
do-
T's and F's. I
Yeah.
forgot to take out the one that was not right, so I just guessed.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We did all right.
Wow.
We'll come back
This
to
is
that.
how I answered each of those.
Zach, you got some stories about Tchaik 5? I know you said that you could tell a little bit.
Yeah, so I have many stories about Tchaik 5. One that I'll share today is that when I was an intern at the Toledo Symphony years ago, I remember I was finishing up my internship, and it was the final masterworks of the season. We called them classics then. So it'd be the May masterworks, I want to say. And Alain Grimaud was playing Rock 2, and Tchaik 5 was the finale. And we had a transition in our horn section, and our new principal horn was Sandra Clark, and I was standing backstage before the performance, and I said, there's this wonderful horn solo tonight. Are you nervous? And I know that's probably not a question you're supposed to ask
You
a
did
musician.
that? You went backstage?
Yeah.
Asked them that.
And she said,
Is this when you were an intern?
yeah.
Okay.
I asked them questions when I was an intern, but she said no. And I just have to let it breathe.
Oh.
And I just remember watching that performance and feeling for one of the first times that I was, getting to see the inside of the Toledo Symphony, which meant a lot to me. But I always think back to that moment when we had the Tchaik 5 and how beautifully she played it. It was really great.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you've conducted this before, right, Alain?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you conducted it in Toledo before?
No, not in Toledo, but I done many times. I played it. It was one of I conducted it many times. And the first time I played it is very funny because it was my first week playing in the Montreal Symphony. We played some youth, concerts, and then we played Tchaik 5 at the end of the week for Masterworks, and it's not Masterworks, but it's the equivalent. And I was straight out of high school. So I returned to the first trumpet, and I was really, how do you say, bright-eyed? Is that it?
And bushy-tailed.
Yeah.
You weren't an intern though, right?
I was 17.
You were an apprentice.
I turned to the trumpet player.
He's younger than I am in the story I just told. Yeah.
I turned to the principal trumpet, James Thompson, and that legend, in rehearsal. I said, "This is so much better than my school orchestra."
Can I just ask you, what was his face as you said that?
He looked. He didn't. He looked straight. He didn't look at me the rest of the week. It was
He couldn't fathom how to process what you had just said.
Well, when you're a kid, you don't know. You just, oh wow, this is so amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember well because it was in winter. It was in February because I slid on ice going to the concert in Place des Arts, and I fell on my trombone, and I broke my bell.
Really?
And
Oh, no.
no, it's okay. I opened it with my hands, and we played the
Or you just
concert.
bent it a little.
Yeah.
I got
Like the Incredible Hulk, just
No, but
Just pull it open.
I was a little nervous, because I went, "Oh no, not really, really," and finally it was okay.
You want to finish up our Tchaikovsky quiz? I have another
sure.
6 questions, same category.
Same category of video games I've never heard of.
Yes,
All right,
exactly.
gotcha. I'll take video games I've never heard of for 500.
You may have heard of a couple of these. Okay. Fallout 4, have you ever heard of that?
That's the
No.
time signature, right?
Okay, there's a classical music radio station in the game that features both Swan Lake and March Slav. True or false? Okay, Destiny, have you heard of that video game? Symphony number 6 is featured during several missions in which the player must interact with a Russian supercomputer named Rasputin. Okay, is that true or did I make that up? Tetris Attack. This is a version of Tetris. You know Tetris. Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture plays during the final phase of the game, complete with cannons. True or false? And then Sea of Thieves, a shortened version of the 1812 overture, is featured as a sea shanty in the game. True or false? Then Minecraft. You've heard of Minecraft, right? Yeah? My kids play it all the time. Okay. In the Warped Forest, Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake is heard in the distance. True or false? And finally, What Remains of Edith Finch. That's a video game I'm not familiar with.
Sounds
What
like a
Remains
masterpiece
of Edith Finch.
mystery.
Yeah. Well, during a baby's death scene, the Waltz of the Flowers plays from the Nutcracker.
Sorry.
Is that true or false? You're laughing at dead babies or Waltz of the Flowers?
It's just these selections they're
Yeah.
terrible.
This is really, this is macabre in a
Okay.
strange
Well,
way.
Right,
this is
yours.
the music right here. This is
Yeah.
Waltz of the Flowers
Yeah.
playing in the background.
Yeah.
So just imagine the baby's death scene.
I have to tell you, I wrote them random. I don't know
Okay.
any of those.
Going back to the beginning, Fallout
Okay.
4, classical music radio station featuring both Swan Lake and March Slav. Is that true or false?
That's false.
It's
I got
actually
it.
true.
All right.
It's true. Okay, in Destiny, Symphony number 6 is featured where the player has to interact with a Russian supercomputer named Rasputin.
I'm gonna
True or false?
say that's false.
I got it again.
It's actually true.
Thought it was too good.
Wow, Elaine, you're
Yeah.
starting to clean up here.
I'm auditing his comments.
I
here.
think this is kind of a podcast on how do you say the law of probability.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, Tetris Attack. You got to get this, Zach.
Yeah.
Okay, Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture plays during the final phase of the game, complete with cannons. True or false?
That's totally false.
You're right. It is false. Once again, you figured I wouldn't have 3 trues in a row. That's why you could be so confident. Okay. Sea of Thieves, a shortened version of the 1812 overture, is featured as a sea shanty in the game. True or false? Can you
That's
imagine?
true. That's true.
Yeah, it is true.
Oh,
Yeah.
2 each. Oh la la.
And you can
I
actually.
waited for Elaine to change his to false, and then I said true.
1812 Overture gets a lot of play in these video games. In this particular game, it's also playable by characters using any one of the game's 4 playable instruments. So there are instruments in this
Oh.
video game.
Yeah, sure, I knew that.
Okay, in Minecraft, in the Warped Forest, Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake is heard in the distance. True or false?
That's false.
Oh, you must be looking
Tiebreaker.
over my shoulder here. Okay.
So that's the tiebreaker. We have 3 each.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, what remains of Edith Finch? During a baby's death scene, this music, Waltz of the Flowers, plays from the Nutcracker. True or false?
That's what you say? Yeah. I'm saying false.
I got it.
You got it!
It's true.
I wrote all of my answers when you said the first question.
Yeah.
You just did them randomly.
You just went all the way down.
Completely.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
quiz that I really made a huge effort, like against Merwin, but I didn't do that well. It's probability. It's
probability.
Interesting. Interesting.
So I've
Hold
never
on.
seen anybody so excited about Kindertotenlieder.
Huh?
It-
Oh man.
That's Mahler. That's Mahler by proxy.
Yeah.
We have to bring in the Mahler bell for that.
Yeah, we had a couple Mahlers today. Didn't get dinged.
Yeah. Well, we can ding them later.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
Again, just to go over the concert that we're talking about today, it is Friday and Saturday evening at 8 o'clock p.m. at the Toledo Museum of Art, Paris Style. Benjamin Beilman, the great violinist whom we spoke with earlier in the podcast, is performing the Violin Concerto by Samuel Coleridge-Taylor, also a new work by New Zealand-based composer Selina Fisher, and the Symphony No. 5 by Piotr Tchaikovsky, Giordano Bellincampi, making a return to Toledo, a favorite definitely of the orchestra, so he'll be heading up the program with Benjamin Beilman. You can find more information about that concert at ToledoSymphony.com or via the box office phone number 419-246-8000. This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony, with generous support from the Rita Barbara Kern Foundation. You can download episodes of our program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to check out all the upcoming events at the Symphony by visiting their website at ToledoSymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find the TSO streaming platform online at stream.artstoledo.com. My thanks to Zach Vassar and Elaine Trudell, and to our special phone guest, Benjamin Beilman. I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.